Hi everyone, welcome back to Storytime Recaps. In this video, I'm going to recap one of the film from 2014, The Angriest Man in Brooklyn. Without any further, let's get started. The film opens in 1989. Henry Altman is a happy man who is living the ideal life with his wife, Betty Altman, and their two little ones. 25 years later, however, it is clear that he has become a very irate, bitter, and resentful man after the unexpected loss of his eldest son 2 years ago. On his way to his doctor's appointment, he is caught in traffic and, when he eventually departs, a cab hits his car, which makes him angry with the driver who is a lugbig, threatening to cancel his license and even making racist remarks about him. To make things worse, Henry is made to wait 2 hours for his appointment at the hospital. Meanwhile, Dr. Sharon Gill is having a terrible day. She recently lost her cat and someone spilled coffee on her at the bus.
Understood that Harold was a trigger.
Sharon is emotionally spent, not giving her patients the same level of care that she did as a rookie doctor who believed she could change the world, and she even uses medication to get through the day. When Henry, her next patient, sees her, he begins to complain and only stops insulting her when she tells him that he has a large brain aneurysm by the brain stem and that his life expectancy is short. She wants him to consult a neurologist for any more information that only an expert can provide. Henry becomes irate and demanding once more, forcing her to tell him the precise amount of time he has left. Feeling trapped, Sharon uses the first number she sees on a magazine cover, 90 minutes, which Henry finds absurd and infuriating. After vowing to have her fired, he leaves the hospital and hails a cab when he finds out his car's tire is flat. While he waits for the driver to get out of traffic, the first stage of grieving denial gradually fades from his thoughts as he begins to realize that he really only has till 6:22 to live and that he should be making decisions about his little time left. Back in the hospital, Sharon realizes she has made a huge mistake and tries to call Henry at his home office, but it doesn't work. Feeling very bad, she talks to her coworker, Dr. Jordan Reed, about the situation and decides she has to go out there and find Henry so she can properly admit him into the hospital and make him feel his problem before she loses her license. Unsure about his next plan of actions, Henry visits the office of the law firm that he and his brother Aaron Altman own and interrupts a conference he is holding with the clients to seek advice on what he should do when he finds out he has only 90 minutes to live. A variety of ideas are discussed, such as visiting a temple, hiring a hustler at a massage parlor, dining at the greatest restaurant in town, or even murdering someone for the sake of society. The ones that speak to him the most, though, as he looks at the photos that adorn the office, making love to his wife and spending the final moments with his family, after all, it's all we have. As he tries to leave the office quickly to go visit them, Aaron stops him, questioning why his brother isn't considered family as well. He believes Henry has gotten worse recently and thinks it absurd that he would go see his family because he has spent the last 2 years fighting with his wife and his oldest kid won't even speak to him. When Aaron says that reconciliation is impossible in 90 minutes and that Henry should pick the harlot, Henry laughs and gives Aaron a hug before leaving. While looking for a cab to take her to Henry's office, Jordan calls her and informs her of the crucial facts. First, his credibility is nearly nil due to the numerous complaints in his file, and second, after showing the scans to a friend in radiology, he discovers that Henry has already started bleeding through his walls, meaning he could actually die at any moment. In any case, Sharon must track him down before he passes away or ruins her career. Henry asks his secretary to call the 25 most influential people from his youth and invite them to meet in a restaurant in 30 minutes. He then creates a to-do list that includes writing his own obituary, getting wasted, and getting in touch with his son Tommy, whom he hasn't spoken to in a long time. After a heated argument about his future, Henry paid for the best legal education, but Tommy preferred to be a dancer rather than a lawyer and work with his father and uncle. This infuriated Henry, especially since he had already created business cards that featured the family name 3 times to stand in for Aaron, Tommy, and himself. However, Tommy quickly pointed out that Henry had done so with his now deceased son Peter in mind. He wasn't Peter, he had other dreams. Henry wished him luck in destroying his life and sent him on his way. Tommy is now running a highly prosperous dance academy. Henry attempts to contact Tommy to speak with him, but Tommy declines and instructs his secretary to handle the call. Arriving at the Altman offices, Sharon speaks with Aaron about what happened, despite the fact that it violates confidentiality laws because she views it as an extraordinary emergency.
Something was strange.
Aaron agrees to help her find him, but he is a little skeptical when he learns that Henry must maintain his calm and keep from losing his temper in order to avoid die of an aneurysm anytime soon. After buying a bunch of flowers, Henry visits his wife, who is having tea with her neighbor Frank. He wants to eject him so he may make love to Betty, and he says this out loud, which makes her freak out, especially since they haven't touched in 2 years. Betty doesn't believe he can make up for years of treating her badly with a quick moment of intimacy. As their argument heats up and the topic of Peter's passing comes up, Betty breaks down in tears and confesses that she has been having an affair with Frank because Henry hasn't been emotionally available since they lost their son. Henry is furious and leaves the house while Betty tosses the flowers he got her at the door. Aaron and Sharon have paid a taxi driver a lot few more cash to get them there in a matter of seconds, exceeding the speed limit, and they arrive at the house shortly after. They inform Betty what's going on, and she tries to call Henry while viewing their family photos. This makes Sharon even more angry with Henry for acting like the ideal family man while she's lonely due to her split parents being out of state. The office secretary then calls Aaron to inform him of the party he is organizing, so they head out right away to try to catch him there.
Okay.
When Henry tries to call Tommy Academy once again, the song that plays during the call reminds him of a party they went to 2 years prior, where he danced to the same song with Betty and Tommy, until a police officer showed up and broke their happy feelings by telling them that Peter had died. When the receptionist finally answers his phone and informs him that Tommy left for lunch, Henry gets angry and begins to yell at him, demanding to speak with his son, which causes the receptionist to end the call. As a result, he becomes even more irate and breaks his cell phone by throwing it to the ground. He then dashes through Brooklyn streets to the restaurant his secretary had booked for the celebration, only to be devastated to discover that the only person there is his school best buddy Bix, whom he hasn't seen in 43 years. When Henry informs him he has less than an hour to live, Bix first shows sympathy, but soon he just starts talking about himself and trivial details of his lethargic life.
Old bonds are the strongest, right?
He even has the audacity to bring up a high school crush that he says Henry stole from him at the time. They end up fighting and abusing one another before Henry departs, since this party is plainly not going to go as planned. Once more, Aaron and the women arrive a moment too late, so they decide to divide up to cover more ground. Aaron returns to the office, while Sharon is left to stroll the streets by herself, her mind full with regrets. Henry doesn't think he can make it to the Academy building in time, so he enters an electronics store and buys a video camera. After a lengthy and annoying discussion with the clerk, who stutters and takes a long time to explain the various models until he finds one that he can use without first recharging the battery.
Batteries?
However, because he is unfamiliar with video cameras, Henry begs one of the homeless to record him. In their conversation, Henry tells Tommy that he has always loved him, acknowledges his mistakes, and lists all of his regrets, including shoving his bed aside and listening to his own father. When the topic of Peter is brought up, he has another outburst of rage, which causes his aneurysm to pop out and knock him out.
Anger is my refuge, it's my...
After a few minutes, he wakes up and realizes that he can't even tell his son that he loves him without getting angry. After giving it some thought, Betty calls Tommy and informs him of Henry's situation, making him feel awful for not answering his calls. In meantime, Sharon calls her mother to inform her that she has had a rough day and needs someone with a good ear to talk to. However, because her mother is only keen on asking for medicines and talking her own issues, Sharon stops the call. At that point, angry voice gets her attention and she seeks it into an alley where he finds the man with the video camera viewing the failed recording again. Desperate to find him, Sharon acknowledges that Henry is her duty and eventually stops using the replacement fielding argument. In exchange for information, she offers the man all of her pills. When the man informs her that Henry has gone to the Brooklyn Bridge to jump into the river, Sharon immediately pursues him. Henry recalls the day he went to the bridge with Tommy when he was young, and they danced in the rain. But that memory is quickly followed by the day Tommy as an adult left him. Henry gives up and prepares to leap as Sharon shows up and tells him that the 90 minutes were a lie before speaking up about all the difficulties she has been facing so he can understand that she truly wants to help him. Noting that if he jumps, both of their lives will be completely ruined, while she views them as a random, meaningless number. Henry views the 90 minutes as significant because they have given him a new outlook on life. Since the 90 minutes haven't ended yet, he chooses to jump off the bridge to complete his time before it expires on its own. Nevertheless, Sharon doesn't lose up and dashes to the coast to track Henry's floating body. She removes her jacket, dives into the sea, and swims toward Henry to seize him and pull him back to land with her.
Holy shit!
She wants to take him to the hospital right away, but since he still has 90 minutes left, Henry wants to see his son first. Sharon makes him an offer. She will take him to his son, but he must promise to remain composed for his health's sake, and after the family reunion is over, he'll allow her to take him to the hospital without complaining, and Henry agrees. As Tommy keeps trying in vain to reach his father, Henry and Sharon board a slow-moving taxi and switch the air conditioner on instead of the heater. Henry finds that the driver is a lugbeck. He uses the moment to exact retribution for what happened earlier in the morning. After he begins to argue with Henry and even sprays them with pepper spray, Henry bites him and exits the car to engage him in direct combat. But before any of the men can react, an angry Sharon snatches the pepper spray and sprays a lugbeck with it before kicking him while he's on the ground. She then tells Henry to get inside the car, and the two of them steal the cab, leaving a lugbeck behind. Despite her poor driving skills, Sharon avoids a bus that is headed their way before they start talking about Aaron, Henry's boys, and sibling relationships, all of which Sharon never had. When she was younger, being an only child didn't concern her, but now she worries about who will support her in life's significant events, such as death. When they realize that the road in front of them is empty, Sharon speeds the car to its maximum speed, which only leads to the police stopping them a second later. She tries to explain that this is an emergency and that she is a doctor, but the police don't believe her because she isn't carrying any identification. Henry then tells him about the crazy day he's had, without omitting any details, and the policeman realizes that Henry is insane and in need of medical help, but he still asks for identification. After remembering that she still has her phone with her, Sharon gets an idea. She calls Jordan and forces him to speak with the police, so he can verify their identities. After hearing the official word from a hospital, the officer is finally convinced that this is an emergency and even offers to take them back to the hospital. However, as soon as he drives away, Sharon goes in the opposite direction. They are lucky enough to arrive at the academy before time runs out. Henry finds Tommy listening to the song they danced to on the bridge that day and asks him to do it with him again. Tommy easily agrees, and as they start dancing, he takes benefit of the chance to give his father another hug after 2 years. Following their plan go to the hospital, Henry asks Sharon what she would do if she knew when she was going to die. Sharon suggests that she attempt to be happy, to which Henry responds that she should be doing so right now before giving her his father's watch. After that, Henry Altman lives for 8 days, during which he spends time at the hospital getting back to relations with Betty, Tommy, and Aaron. During that time, he never becomes upset, with the exception of the final moments, when he taunts Death for coming to get him, and he remembers her family's sweet moments. That same day, Sharon quits her job and stops taking her medications. She then finds a new job at a free clinic where she can help people the way she's always wanted to. She also adopts a cat and begins dating Aaron. Later, the two of them, along with Tommy, his girlfriend, Betty, and Frank, go on a ferry trip to spread Henry's ashes on the East River. The captain criticizes them for this, and they respond by scolding him in the same manner that Henry would have. Thanks for watching, and remember to turn on your notifications to watch more movie recaps like this one.